Okay. I think we're good.
All right. Okay, let's get the planning and zoning meeting started for today. It's a little bit of a different format we have going on since the recent outbreak. We're going to try and do this video and do as much as we can with keeping our social distancing and hopefully with very few technical difficulties. So the way the meeting is going to work tonight is we will do our few business things we have to do at the start of the meeting. Then we're going to have a break from 7 to 7:30 to allow the public who are not here or who might be out there to have a chance to come and sign our sign-up sheets to speak for or against or undecided on items and just have their name go on the record. And we also will have a chance for people to give public testimony, and they will be able to come in and do a recording. That's still correct? And put themselves on the record. It will be displayed when we get to the public hearing portion. And everybody will still get a chance to speak just like normal. It's just going to be remotely. So let's start our regular meeting. We have, get back to my right screen. Technical difficulty. There we go. Anybody want to say anything about the minutes? Or do you want me to do roll call first? Okay, I'm gonna announce who is on the Zoom app. We have Matt Garner and Michelle Franklin and Ron Van Acker are remoting in, and when they speak at these meetings, you will be able to see them on the screen. And then in person, we have Steve Kehoe, Tom Turner, and Jeff Kirkman, and myself, Peggy Selman. So we do have our quorum, even though we're not all here physically. Okay, we have any announcements? Rodney? Other than everything's new.
Everything's new.
Okay.
Nothing for me.
Okay. Minutes.
Motion that we approve the minutes.
Second.
Yay, Matt. I'd give it to Matt since he's remote. That's fun. Yeah. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Michelle, did you vote?
Maybe she can't hear.
We don't hear her.
Let me see if I can bring her up.
She went away.
There she is.
She come back?
Michelle, can we hear you? Why don't you try speaking?
Hear me now?
Yep.
Did you vote yes on the minutes?
Aye.
Okay. All right. The meetings are approved. We do not have any business items because it got moved to a later meeting because it was not urgent. So we do have 7 public hearing items. So again, if anybody would like to go on the record, you need to come down to City Hall and sign or videotape a testimony, and we will hear that. We have room for 11 people to come in our room to make in-person testimony, so very limited access to that, but that is another option. So at this time, we're going to pause the meeting until 7:30 to give everybody a chance to testify or get on the record. Thank you for your patience.
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes.
on my agenda, I have a business item updating of the Napa Downtown Main Street program. Has that been,
Right, it's been pushed.
okay. Do we know when?
Not yet. All right, we'll see you folks at 7:30. Okay, it's 7:30, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our first public hearing item, number 1, annexation and zoning to RD, two-family residential at 44 South Kings Road for fourplex apartments. Do we have the applicant here? Come on up and state your name and address for the record. Please, they don't want you touching the microphone.
Wonder why. I'm Tim Kristovich. I represent Whispering Pines Development. I am from CUNA, and it's 2335 North Greyhawk Avenue.
Thank you.
Did you get everything?
Yep, and
Did I do it good?
you did good. Now tell us what you're wanting to do.
So we're looking at that parcel to annex in and zone it for the zoning for the multifamily. We're looking to comply with the comp plan that the city has put forth. We're not going to ask for anything special, just we want to comply with and work within your guidelines for that type of zoning. We're looking to do fourplexes, I believe, we're looking at about 12 fourplexes on that property. We're looking at doing some nicer places, not just throwing some stuff up. I also own Christie Construction, which is a construction company that builds these. We build very high efficient projects. Our houses rate 0.6 on the HERS rating, which is net. We're at the passive housing, which means it's one step away from net zero. So that's how energy efficient we build, and we're looking at doing the same type of building on these projects. So very high efficient projects.
Okay.
Any questions from you?
I do. Some of the neighbors got up antsy about the height of the buildings.
Right.
1-story, 2-story?
They'd be fourplexes would be 2 stories, but they wouldn't be any higher than a normal 2-story home.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
so yeah, be the same thing.
Okay, well, you'll have a seat. We'll hear from staff and anybody else. We might ask you some questions at the end. All right. I didn't see who's presenting this one.
It's me.
It's you. You are it.
So I'm just trying to share the PowerPoint right now. Hopefully everybody is able to see it. Let's see here.
Here we go.
Oops.
So that's what people at home are seeing right now, is what's on the overhead.
Everyone should be seeing the PowerPoint presentation. If you're not, please raise your hand or something so we can see. Madam Chair and Commission, for the record, Rodney Ashby, Principal Planner for the city. As has been stated, this is a request for annexation and zoning to RD, two-family residential at 44 South Kings Road for fourplex apartments. And let's see if I can move this a little bit. There we go. Okay, so you can see the on the screen there where these are located, just north of Parkview Way, and Park Ridge Elementary is just to the south there, and along Kings Road and south of Victory Road. So applicant stated that they are seeking RD zoning to allow fourplex multifamily construction to build approximately 51 units of 2 to 3 bedroom multifamily rental units on 4.1 acres. The comp plan is designated as medium density residential in the area. The proposed zoning is RD, as has been stated. Surrounding land uses to the north is single family residential. City RS6 zoning. Let me move to that. So right there in that location there, little corner, R6, and then to the north even farther is the enclaved county ag zoning. To the south, the single-family residential, the Park Ridge subdivision, zoned as City RS6, and to the east is rural residential farmland, and then to the west is also RS6 zoning, and I believe the subdivision is Kingsgate subdivision. And here's kind of an aerial view of the location, currently being used as a single-family home with some open lot for farm animals. Okay. Utilities, there are utilities available to the site, and you can see them there on the screen. Access would be from Kings Road. So correspondence, Nampa School District just highlighted the different schools that they would be attending in this location. They had no concerns about capacity at any of the schools. But they did comment on the need for sidewalks and lighting for safe routes to school and to access the bus stops. So that would be a requirement, as engineering states below, that access should be directly from Kingsgate Drive. I don't know why that says Kingsgate Drive. I think that should have been Kings Road.
Well, Kingsgate Drive is that one says.
Yeah. And accommodate cross-access to adjacent undeveloped parcels where possible. Oh, I'm sorry. So I think what they're saying is they're lining up,
That's the cross.
yeah, the crossroad. Yep, that's
Did you
correct.
see Daniel raised his hand?
Oh, did he? I think we probably got it, but let's see if he wants to speak up. Daniel, just unmute your mic if you want to speak.
No, that's fine. You figured it out.
Okay, thanks.
Now, an engineer.
Yeah. So the right-of-way dedication would be 50 feet. Kings Road has been in the past a collector road, but they've recently changed it, and in the adopted master plan, it's designated as a minor arterial, and so therefore the 50 feet of right-of-way would be necessary, and that would all be a requirement of approval. Again, frontage improvements, there's utilities available. You can't see some of this on the screen. Let me see if I can move it a little bit. And okay, yeah, it's basic correspondence we've received from engineering on this one. Okay, so we have had several citizen correspondence that were opposed to the development, and I just remind you that in this situation, we need to be treating them as if they were right here speaking their opinion. And I will read their comments directly, just as if they were speaking it. So the first one is from Lisa Crockett at 3112 Parkview Way, Nampa, Idaho. And Lisa states, I would like to voice my concerns for the proposed fourplex multi-level homes as it is when I try to leave the subdivision and turn right onto Kings Road. I sometimes have to wait a few minutes for a break in the traffic. There are days the traffic is backed up beyond our road waiting for their turn at the stop sign. Then coming home, I have had times when I have turned onto Kings Road from Garrity and had to stop due to traffic being backed up from the Kings Victory stop sign. This is only one concern that I have. If we add this amount of families to the neighborhood, some of my other concerns are the privacy in my backyard if a multi-level home is built behind my fence. Another is the overall look of the neighborhood. If you drive around the neighborhood, you will not see any apartments. This is the reason we moved here. I do not think that apartments would blend in with the overall look and feel of the neighborhood. Please take these into consideration. I wish we were not in this critical time of social distancing. I would love to be there to voice my opinion. Please reach out if you have any questions. The next comment was from Diane Ashcraft, and then I've listed on the screen, oops, there we go. I've listed on the screen all the other people who she states, or Diane Ashcraft states, are in support of this comment. And I'll just read them really quickly. Lisa Crockett, Todd Crockett, Chadwick Lewis Fridley, P.U.I. Lewis Fridley, Les Smith, Glenda Smith, Patricia Zamudio, Zamudio, Paul Zamudio, Steve Bush, Diana Bush, Jamie Torre, Torre, Sally Button. And the comment is, we would like to submit our objection to rezoning allowing of multiple dwellings of 44 South Kings Road, Whispering Pines development. This would not be consistent with the overview of our current neighborhood. We object to multiple level dwellings due to the invasion of our privacy of our homes. And another concern is that the multiplex living would increase the amount of traffic density coming north and south on Kings Road. Thank you. Okay, there's that one. The next one is from Stephen S. Bush at 3308 Parkview Way. And their statement is, please accept this email as my official opposition to the annexation and zoning to RD at 44 South Kings Road, Nampa. I am opposed to it because of the following reasons. Increased traffic and congestion that these fourplex apartments will create on South Kings and East Victory Roads, which are already highly congested in the morning and afternoon hours. Concerns of the privacy and security of the bordering residential homes located around the proposed fourplex apartments and in the Park Ridge subdivision and those living on Parkview Way specifically. The small backyards along the border of the proposed apartments will no longer have any privacy if the apartments are more than 1 story high, and especially if a 10-foot wall or mature trees aren't installed by the developer. Concerns over existing property values of neighboring residential houses being negatively impacted due to the apartments in proximity. Negative precedents for other open fields in the area such as 3123, 3213, and 3321 East Victory Road that may be considered at a later date. Sincerely and signed, Stephen S. Bush. I also have additional comments that were submitted today. This is from Jason Powell, Powell, at 3322 Parkview Way. Please accept this email as my official opposition to the annexation and zoning to RD at 44 South Kings Road, Nampa. I am opposed to it because of the following reasons. Increased traffic and congestion that these fourplex apartments will create on South Kings and East Victory Roads, which are already highly congested in the morning and afternoon hours. Adding an entrance into the complex less than 50 feet from the Parkview Way entrance will make getting onto Kings Road difficult. Concerns of the privacy and security of the bordering residential homes located around the proposed fourplex apartments and in the Park Ridge subdivision, and those living on Parkview Way specifically. Small backyards along the border of the proposed apartments will no longer have any privacy if the apartments are more than 1 story high. Depending on the height of the complex, no amount of barricades or plants will block the view and infringe on our privacy. Concerns over existing property values of neighboring residential houses being negatively impacted due to apartments in proximity. Negative precedents for other open fields in the area, such as 3123, 3213, and 3321 East Victory Road that may be considered at a later date. And again, that was signed, sincerely and signed, Jason Powell. The next one is, oh, I think that was just a repeat of that one. Okay, yeah, that was it for those comments. We'll continue through. So applicable regulations for this property to be annexed, it needs to be contiguous with city property, or city, with city limits, I should say, and or be enclaved by other properties so annexed. Zoning must be consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan future land use map. So if the commission wishes to move forward with this request and approve the annexation and zoning, these are the recommended findings. They're in your staff report and on the screen. And then staff recommended conditions are as presented in the correspondence and as outlined in recommended conditions of approval in the staff report. The staff analysis, I think I actually get to some of the conditions in more detail at a later screen. So the staff analysis, the requested annexation parcel connects with the city limits on its west and south property lines. The parcel is part of a 13 parcel approximate 38.5 acre enclaved area. It can reasonably be assumed to come into the city and be adjacent. It is already adjacent to city limits, but adjacent lands will likely be developed in the area. The proposed zoning conforms with the city's comprehensive plan, and the property owner requested annexation and zoning to RD. I did list in the staff report and on the screen, I can click the uses that are allowed in the RD zone. So I'm happy to do that if the commission wishes. So as was already highlighted, I didn't have any of the comments when I put this together, but I anticipated some of these same concerns that we often hear from residential subdivisions, single-family subdivisions next to multifamily. The traffic, I would defer to engineering, to Daniel on this, but basically there is traffic on Kings Road during peak hours of the morning and evening. It can be significant, but it doesn't seem to be continued throughout the day. I live in the general area and go through this area every day. So there is some traffic though during peak hours. Privacy, the max height in the RD zone is allowed to be 2 stories, no higher than that. These would likely be at least 2 stories high. Area density, it is compliant with the comprehensive plan, but this is a little bit subjective decision by the commission. You can decide whether it fits the area. And then perceptions of crime, I've heard that before, but that's unclear. I'm not sure how to address that. So again, I've listed all of these conditions in the staff report, and you're welcome to have me go through these, but I prefer not to because they're all listed and you've read them.
Kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then this is a potential motion if you so choose to approve this annexation and zoning. And then I would just encourage the chairman Madam Chair, to open it up for public to speak here.
Okay. So we'll open up the public hearing for item number 1. I have the sign-up sheet here. We have some people listed for the proposal. I have Michael Laird, who does not wish to speak, but he is on the record as for it. And then I cannot read the name. I got Tim. Okay, Tim. Your handwriting is not good. Okay, so you're for it, which is good because you presented, so that's great. And then we have Jeff Kessel is also for it and does not wish to speak, so. And then against, we have Frank Palmer, who did not wish to speak, and that's everybody who is signed up presently. Is there anybody here that would like to speak for, against, or undecided? Okay.
And maybe in the other rooms if there's...
Do we need to check with Christy and see if there's anybody out there?
Let me just open the door just to make sure.
Okay, we don't want to deny anybody their due process, so. Okay, I would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
I have a question for Rodney. He didn't give us a chance to ask the question before.
Okay.
So before we close the bill, how much weight should we put on the different aspects of the application? The traffic is a problem, the height people say is a problem, although we covered that already with the applicant, it was gonna be two-story, but how much weight do we put on traffic? I mean, if it's 40% of the decision, 10% of the decision, no part of the decision, I mean, people are complaining about the traffic, and it is horrendous out there. I've been out there, I don't live out there, but I've been out there, caught in that traffic, and I don't like it.
Yeah. I cannot give you a percentage, but that's just one of the factors that you have to consider as part of the overall decision. It primarily, well, you have full flexibility in annexation, whether to deny or allow something to come in. This is your best opportunity to put restrictions or not allow completely. You have a lot of flexibility to make that decision. And how much you weigh that is kind of on an individual basis, I would guess. And I would look to Daniel as well, see if he has any major concerns about this. However, he is on, and I think he's,
And I have a question for Daniel also, so maybe we get him all at once.
yeah. Okay, Daniel?
Yep, I'm here. So as Chairman Commissioner Kehoe, the city does do traffic congestion projects. Currently, we are under design at Kings and Victory for a roundabout at that location. One of the things I would say is that as we develop and get new building permits, they pay impact fees, which help to fund the projects that help with those congestions that have arisen over the years.
And what's your timeline on that, Daniel?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
You have to speak into it.
What's the timeline?
It's currently in design. I believe we're in the next year or two for construction on that particular intersection.
And it would take close to that time to get this built and occupied anyway, right?
You know, that really depends on the timing of the developer.
Right, okay.
So Daniel, I have a question. You know, one of my concerns about that road, especially in the early mornings, is lack of visibility for the kids that are standing out there waiting for buses. And there's been a number of times I've driven that road and kids have just been darting across that road. It's dark. So my question is when does the city put in streetlights? Is there a certain number? I mean, I don't know. Is there a formula or is anything like that? I mean, can we request?
So the city standards on streetlights are the developments put them at each intersection and every 400 feet thereafter.
Okay.
So each development typically puts their own in.
Okay.
If there are specific locations where we're having issues with what you're describing, that can be reported to the street department and engineering, and we will do an evaluation and determine if a street light is warranted there, if illumination is warranted there. And at that point, it just comes down to whether there's adequate funding to do those things or not.
Okay. But nonetheless, the developer is going to put street lights in anyways at the intersection. So.
If it falls within the policy, the spacings, then yes, he would be required to. I haven't specifically reviewed this one to see what the distance from the intersection is and whether they would be required to put one in or not.
Okay. Thank you.
About the people that are out of town, you know, remote locations? How do we get them to see if they want to speak?
Matt, you have your mic unmuted. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I think we need to hear from the applicant again, do we not?
If there's questions, we can,
I would like to ask him a question if we can get him.
can
Yep, I'm here.
go ahead, Matt.
Tim, I don't see any, in our staff report, I don't see any of the, any proposed designs for the layout of the buildings. Is that still in development, or do you have a package of buildings that you've built elsewhere that you're just going to reproduce here?
Yeah, we're still in development. We want it to fit the area. We've got a couple plans we've used in the past. We're still trying to determine whether we want to use those here or not. But yeah, I don't, we're still developing that. One of the things that we're looking at is to have consideration to the neighboring subdivisions that are there already. We don't want to encroach upon the properties, but we're still looking at different layouts. So our big approach to these is to make sense. So it's not just throw them in and leave. We plan on holding these properties for quite some time, and we're not planning on just putting them up and selling. We want to hold this for quite some time. So to keep this in our portfolio, we want to make it so it's nice and desirable for not only the community, but for rentals, so.
Question was, I guess my question is because of in most of the dissenting votes that we've heard tonight from the neighbors, a lot of it had to do with privacy. And if you're planning to put buildings along that south side, I'm wondering about whether you'd have the opportunity to change the orientation of the buildings to keep patios or windows off of that south side of the buildings, so that that does kind of protect their privacy in those backyards.
Right, we can entertain that. I don't see a problem with looking at that and maybe even putting in some, different types of trees and that would help that. Our approach is we wouldn't have any more impact than if we built single-family residence there with two-story houses. Mm-hmm. That's our approach on that type of development. So, does that answer your question?
It does. I just, I would like, as far as us entertaining the motion that's on the table, it's just one of those things that it would be nice to have a good faith effort put forth to try and, appease the neighbors and their concerns about privacy. So
right.
That's all I'm wondering is if it's still in development, you might have that opportunity to change the orientation of those buildings to kind of protect that. So.
Yep, and one of the things that we've tried to do is work closely with the cities in trying to accommodate the best we can these concerns. Mm-hmm. So we don't want to, we're in the areas, we're different areas around the valley, and we want to be welcomed as we come into other communities. So we want to work with the community and not go, there's that guy again. We want to be the guy that says, oh, here's somebody that comes in and does it right. And that's the reputation we want to have. So.
Thanks, Tim.
Yep.
Does anyone else have a question for the applicant?
I have one for Rodney.
Okay. Go ahead, Matt.
Rodney, I see that there's a house on the property at present, and they talk about aligning Kingsgate with the entrance to that development. Is that house going away now, or are they going to somehow try and do that later? What's the plan for the house?
Madam Chair and Matt, I actually would suggest you ask the applicant that question.
Come on back.
We're waiting for you to sit down.
I'm getting my exercise today. So.
Yep.
No, we plan on removing that house, and
When?
as we develop that. So it'll stay there until we get the approval on our, with our plans and what we want to do. And at that point, that's when that house would go away. So it will go away as that development starts. In our opinion, it needs to, just to make the room there and the access proper, so we have enough access to that development. So.
Okay. Anybody else have any
Well,
questions?
is it possible that we could have them actually say, because they're not here, we can't look at them and they can shake their head no. How do we know that they're hearing everything? How do we know they're not missing something? Yes. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought he was asking the question. No, it's too late. Sorry.
We haven't closed public hearing.
We haven't closed
Oh,
public
we haven't?
hearing yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ron, are you hearing everything okay?
Oh, yeah. Yep, I'm good.
Okay.
Michelle?
Rodney, it would be good if, whenever Commissioner Kehoe speaks or Commissioner Kirkman, but I can't hear him that well, so maybe get a little closer to the microphone.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
And me, is that better?
that's great.
Michelle, can you hear us okay?
I hear everything just fine.
Great.
Okay. Did you want to go on the record? Come on up, give your name and address.
Don't knock any of the yellow tags off either.
Sorry, I know I'm Martin Ho, but my name's Frank Palmer, 44 South King
Oh,
Road.
okay, you just changed your mind. That's
Well,
okay.
my biggest concern is I rented a place to have my horses, and my wife is dealing with cancer, and be settled for a while. My biggest concern is now they want to do this, how soon is this going to happen, if it happens, because now I've got to find somewhere to go.
So you rent the house that they're going to tear down?
I rent the house that they're going to tear down,
Okay,
and that is a very busy road. I listen to traffic all night long on that road, and they do like 100 mile an hour.
okay.
So, I mean, I was kind of wondering how that was going to happen because, you know, being there, I've been there 4 years.
And your landlord
Trying to
hasn't,
Take care of the traffic, take care of the property, make it
Right.
look good, rent equipment to clean out the ditches and do stuff, haul off trash for them. The rental company didn't even know about it. Because when we found a sign out front of the house, it was like, what is this?
Okay.
They're widening the road. No, they're putting fourplexes on the property we're renting.
okay.
So
So are you on a lease that has a term right now, or are you month to month?
we did have a lease 6 months at a time, and then they just quit doing it. So
So you're month to month?
Yeah.
So they could give you 30 days notice. That's the shortest amount of notice they could give you to have you move. So you're going to have to communicate with the property management company or the property owner, and
they didn't even know nothing about it either. So that's got them kind of dumbfounded, you know,
okay.
trying to figure out what's going on.
You might speak to the gentleman after the meeting and, and see what he can advise you, because we wouldn't have any
Sure.
information on that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, no, it's just kind of.
Yeah, you'd like to know as soon as possible. It sounds like it's going to be happening. If we approve, then it would, it would move forward in whatever speed that is. But, until we deliberate and make our decisions here, I couldn't tell you.
Right. Okay.
But I would grab that guy on the way out, or stay 6 feet away from him and ask him questions.
Right. Okay. Well, I was just trying to figure, what,
Sure.
trying to make plans of what I could do or what
Right.
I got to do to get it done.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, we don't have the answer for that one for you.
thank you.
Okay. All right, is there anybody else here that would like to speak for, against, or undecided? Okay.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. Anybody away from here have any problems with that? Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
I guess everybody, how do we know when they've all spoke at home? That's the
Yeah, we
only
don't know if
problem.
They said yes or no.
So Ron and Matt both said yes, I noticed. I'm not sure. Michelle, you want to vote in?
Aye.
There we go.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded and approved to, we've already voted that. So public hearing is closed. We have just time for discussion. What do you guys want to do?
My concern with it is a two-story house or two-story fourplex is, it's going to be the same height. That, to me, is not an issue. But everything around that to the south and to the west is all single-family. And just up and to the west a little bit off Kings or Victory and Sugar, you have a bunch of multifamily. To put it right in the middle of what is pretty much looking like single-family, I don't know. I struggle with that, with what you're going to do those homeowners, and by putting it right in right in the smack in the middle of all that currently is looking like single family. So I'm struggling with it.
Anybody else?
Is this one of those situations where if we annex or if we recommend an annexing and rezoning, that we won't see the plan come before us because it'll be an approved use?
It will go before design review, but no, it won't go before design review?
It will not go,
Okay, so yeah, we won't see it again.
So that's, that's one of those situations where, we don't get a second chance.
No.
Could we do a development agreement?
you could recommend a development agreement, yes.
Okay.
Recommendations in a development agreement, you can also put as conditions in this motion.
True.
Yeah, that would actually be better, I would think.
I just struggle with it right there. I mean, there's places for it and places where we don't need to have multifamily shoved in with residential and,
But it is zoned for that use, though. That's the thing that I look at. What bothered me more than anything was the traffic situation, and with the roundabout going in there, that alleviated most of my concern about the traffic, because those roundabouts really work. So,
Madam Chair, just to
Most
clarify,
of the single-family residential that's around there is all, kind of more affordable homes. They're what you might say starter homes. So I think that if you're going to put it next to some single-family residential, that would be kind of the area that you would like to see it. And then even just down from there on Sugar, there's quite a bit of multifamily housing, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
Madam Chair, just a quick comment. I just wanted to make sure that it's clear, it hasn't been zoned. So what zoning you choose to put there will determine, what can be done.
But the zoning that he's recommending
Is RD, which complies
is
with the comprehensive.
comprehensive plan, right?
Yeah.
I kind of agree with Matt, Madam Chair. His comments related to similar type housing around the area. We all know there's a need for more affordable homes, and I think it's a good chunk of a
Rodney,
infill property that
back up on the screen.
we can have confidence the developer is going to design it right and keep with what comments he made, that he keep the neighbors in mind, and I would support it.
I think the other thing is the proximity to that school. It's walkable, easily walkable if they put that in there. And you would assume that going into, a multifamily project, you would have quite a few children involved. So I think it'd be a great place for it.
Is that what you needed?
Yep. Are there any other comments from anybody? Madam Chair, I'd like to make the motion, recommend to Nampa City Council annexation and zoning to RD two-family residential at 44 South Kings Road for fourplex apartments with all conditions of staff.
Second.
Who was that seconded?
I think that was Ron, is that correct?
Yep.
Ron seconded. Okay. Thank you, Ron. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to recommend to City Council annexation and zoning. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, he's heard everybody this time. Yay. All right, that is approved. It will go to City Council. Now we're on to number 2. Jeff gets to do his Vanna White thing.
I've been waiting for this.
Oh, my gosh. Woo! Okay. Public hearing number 2, zoning map amendment from IPRS Industrial Park Single Family Residential to RMH Multiple Family Residential at 335 North Gateway Street for a 100-unit multiple family apartment project for Tim. Oh, that's another one, huh, Tim? All right, come on up.
You can state my name again.
Yes, name and address for the record,
Tim
please.
Kristovich with Whispering Pines Development, 2335 North Greyhawk, CUNA. So it says 100. I don't believe we're going to get 100 doors on this. I think we're probably going to be more around 32, just because of the parking on that. So I wanted to clarify that at this point.
So from 100 to 32?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, it says we can do 100. I don't think we can do 100. So I just want to clarify that. I don't believe we're
That's a
going to
big
get.
difference. Like,
Yeah, that is a huge difference.
So, I mean, when we first did this, that's what they, that's what was put on there. But again, I don't believe it can get that many doors. We'd like to get more doors than 32, but, I don't see us getting 100. I don't see us getting, but I think the minimum will be 32. So
Is it gonna, how many buildings are you thinking?
probably 3.
3-story?
Probably, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll match the buildings next door. This is an opportunity zone. We like this property because we can go in there and upgrade that whole area. The numbers make sense at 32 for us to do. And again, this is another property we'd be holding for a long term. We'd be building it with the same type of products. We build with ICF construction, so it'd be a high energy efficient complex, more state-of-the-art type of stuff going on there.
Okay.
So, any questions?
But you don't have anything to show us today either?
No, I
Okay.
don't have anything there either. I've got TNO working on both engineering on both these projects. that we're
They're right across the street, aren't they?
doing. They are. Yeah, they kind of liked that when they found out it was right across the street. So, yep.
Okay, we'll call you back if we have some questions. It's Norm. We're waiting for
Did you
Norm.
wake them up?
Tim, there's a chair right here because you'll probably get called up a couple of times.
There we go. I'm here now.
There's Norm.
I'm going to start this PowerPoint. Well,
Maybe.
I can pull it up from here too, Norm, if you need me to.
yeah, I can get it going here.
Okay.
Neat. Okay, I guess we all see that.
Nope.
Did you
Well, that's not good.
did you tap share?
Do we need the Jeopardy music?
I can bring it up, Norm.
Okay, I think, I don't know why that didn't share.
ZMA 117, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess you'll have to run the presentation then.
Okay, I've got it up. Let's see if you can cycle through.
I can't cycle. Well, let me try it on my end again, Rodney.
As we pause due to technical difficulties.
Yeah, I think I had this going before, Rodney. Maybe we can try it again from my
Okay.
end.
Okay, go ahead. There we go.
Ooh, I like that picture.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
We see your desktop.
But you can't see the PowerPoints yet.
Nope.
Wait, get this thing out of the way. I don't know why that's... Let's see. Your crazy thing is blocking me. Here we go.
Give Norm permission. There we are.
How's that?
We got it.
We got it.
Okay. So the requested action on this, of course, is a rezone, a map amendment from IP to RS, IP and RS, which is a combo industrial park, single-family residential zone, to an RMH multifamily residential zone. And as Mr. Christovich indicated, this may be less than a 100-unit multifamily apartment, but that's the maximum density that could be allowed based on the lot area and if all the parking could be accommodated. So they're seeking this to allow that construction. And of course, the applicable regulations are that the zoning map amendment must be reasonably necessary in the interest of the public and further promote the purpose of zoning and agree with the comprehensive plan of the neighborhood. As you can see there, it's a 1.25 acre parcel. The existing zoning in the area or on that property is IPRS. Again, they're asking for the RMH zone. On the comp plan, it is a high-density residential statement on the comp plan. As you can see from this drawing, the brown area there is the high-density residential on the current comprehensive plan.
Okay.
You do have other comprehensive plan designations in the area. You have the medium-density designation in the orange. The brown area is the high-density. This is the commercial, industrial across this way, and then you have some community mixed use up in here, and the cemetery area is a public education, etc. type use. The area zoning again is shown here. Currently, the zoning there is the IP-RS zone. This would be seeking to extend that current RMH zone north to include this property. And you do have other zoning in the area, but that location is primarily a multifamily residential kind of mixed zoning area there. So it would be compatible with the comp plan in that regard. Utilities are sufficiently located there to accommodate this project. The access would be from North Gateway Street on the east side of the property. There's a street view from North Gateway Street showing the view of the property from that side as present. I assume these structures would be removed for the apartment construction. There's your bird's eye view of the property, kind of facing north, mostly vacant parcel here. You have the existing high-density apartments immediately to the south and some residential uses to the north with some industrial type uses right here to the north adjacent. Again, we have the listing there in the staff report showing the permitted and conditional uses allowed in the RMH zone and the signs that are allowed in the RMH zone. If you want to look at your staff report, you can look at it there or click onto these links in your electronic version, or if there's questions, we can look at them here as well. Staff discussion. This area was designated for high-density development, residential development on 2035 and the 2040 adopted conference plan.
What is designated for high density? Check it out.
Wow. That was my Siri talking to me there. This, again, so it does conform with the comp plan, both former and present. And these comprehensive plans also emphasize the benefits for this kind of infill development. Utilities and roads are available to the site. Emergency services are located nearby, service the area. Right-of-way improvements will be accomplished as a part of the project. And this kind of infill often provides dwellings near the community services and existing facilities and schools, and works very well with what we foresee for that location. Staff findings, that the commission votes to recommend this to the city council. The standard findings required under the zoning ordinance are what come into play here. The zoning map amendment would be in harmony with the comprehensive plan, future land use map. The proposed zoning map amendment would provide a proposed use or set of uses that would be at least reasonably compatible with existing property uses and zoning. The proposed zoning map amendment would make a change on the land use map of the city, which would establish an area of zoning the same or as compatible with immediately adjoining districts. And the proposed zoning map amendment would not create a spot zone. And the map amendment would be in the interest of the public and reasonably necessary. We have the recommended conditions as stated by the engineering department. And those are listed there and here. If there's any question on those, I'm sure Daniel could be summoned to answer any discussion there. Again, the requested action, zoning map amendment from IP/RS, industrial park/single family residential to RMH zone for the project's location identified. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Norm?
Probably a question for Daniel, but would North Gateway Street need to be improved to beyond that current complex right there? Improved northward?
Chairman, Commissioner Kirkman, the North Gateway is a local roadway, and so it would be required if there is not existing curb gutter sidewalk adjacent to the property, they would be required to install that. If I remember correctly, I believe there is curb gutter there, but probably not sidewalk, and so regardless, either way, they would be putting all of those improvements in along their frontage.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions for Norm? Thank you, Norm.
Welcome.
Madam Chair, Norm, I think you had something to read in from someone who was here.
We did have one letter from a resident, I believe, in the area, can't quite read his name, Cloward, looks like the last name, 351 North Gateway Street, which is right along that location. He said, my concern is the tree on the property line, it has grown into my fence, my cyclone fence, but it is growing on property in question. Could we keep it? I want to know proposed start of construction. Thank you.
So the tree is growing in,
Mr. Cloward.
so it's stated that the tree is growing into his fence, but he wants to keep it?
Yeah,
Okay.
he sounds like he's fine with the tree growing there and wants to keep it there.
Well, we will ask the applicant. All right. Anybody else have any questions for Norm? Okay, we're going to proceed to public hearing. Okay, Tim, we have you on here again, but you're good. Okay, for the proposal, I have Ginger Lynn, and I cannot read the last name, and does not wish to speak, but also lives at 351 Gateway. So if that's Cloward, I have that on here. Nobody else for. Against, I have Julia Clayton. She does not wish to speak. She signed this. And then I have undecided Jacob Singer. Jacob, are you here? You want to come up and state your name and address for the record and try not to touch the microphone?
How are you guys doing today?
Good.
My name is Jacob Singer. I'm the current resident of 335 North Gateway. I'm a renter there. About 2 weeks ago, I came home and received that it was going to be rezoned. I had the same situation as the previous speaker,
Sure.
and I wasn't informed, or my renter was not informed or anything like that. I basically had put undecided because I am not against it. I'm not for it, but at these times right now, these trying times, these times are undecided. You don't know if you're going to have a job tomorrow. You don't know if you're going to wake up. I had to fire 3/4 of my employees at work. I work in a restaurant, so this is one of the hardest industries to currently be in right now. I think this project is great. Having the availability to make 34 homes to basically a house to where we house 5 people. You know what I mean? We've been there for 6 years, and the land has been great. The house has been great. But the times is really hard. The times that we're facing right now, we want to buy a house, but being a month-to-month renter, that's like, well, am I going to have a job to be able to afford a mortgage once they do propose this plan and it does go through? Because I don't see a problem with it. I really don't. It's a great plan. It's awesome. But at the same time, in these trying times, if the public health, if everybody gets sick, there's going to be nobody to rent those apartments to. There's going to be if our economy, pardon my French, but if our economy goes down the gutter, then there's going to be nobody to be able to get those homes that they're building. And that's the only opposition that I have for this. And
Sure.
that the only thing I can do is request possibly to maybe have this rezoning maybe pushed out possibly a month until our federal government knows what they're going to do. Because I'm pretty sure you guys have been in the same situation to where it's, do I go to work tomorrow? You know, it's tough. It's a very hard time. And I just appreciate you guys letting me speak today.
Well, nothing is going to move as fast as 30 days, even if it goes through. It's going to take some time.
I understand.
And I'm sure that what's going on in our country is going to determine how fast they move, so, yeah.
Having to fire all my employees is
Oh, yeah, that's
the thing
awful.
I've had to do since I've been up here, and I'm pretty sure the people that were looking to get into some of these proposed apartments and some of these proposed projects that you guys see daily, they're not going to be able to do that unless something changes. And it's just kind of a blind side, just to the economy, to
Sure.
everybody right now. So
Yep.
thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else present that would like to speak for, against, or undecided for this proposal? Does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
I do.
Okay. Do you want to come on up, Tim?
It's about the tree.
About the tree.
The tree,
What's going on with the tree? That's right.
not sure which tree,
Because
but
I'm looking at an aerial shot of this property, and it does look like this tree is grown out of the fence line, and it does kind of cover, if it's the same property that Norm is referencing in that letter, if that's what I'm looking at, it does cover that property quite a bit, but it looks like it could be a really good buffer with all those apartments that might be going in there too. And if it's possible to leave it, then I hate seeing trees cut down anyways, but
I agree with you on that. You know, anytime I go in, I try not to cut down trees. The last, one of the developments I did in Middleton, I didn't cut down enough trees, and, you know, the people that bought the lots that did some building, they had to cut some trees down. So if we can keep the tree, we'll keep it. If we can't, we can't. But I'm all for keeping trees, especially older trees, but I mean, I can only do what we can do.
Sure.
So, but I'm not just gonna go in there and chopping things down.
Right.
So we'll try to accommodate the best we can with what's going on there. So, you know, and then that's, you know, you know, I grew up in the restaurant business, and I'm familiar with that industry, and I feel really bad for those, you know, the people in that industry, the servers and that. I mean, they never get enough praise as it is. But as far as we're concerned, we're not worried about where the economy is going. I believe in 6 months we're going to look back and wonder what we did to ourselves. Okay, that's where I'm at. I think this is going to bounce back, especially in this valley. So as
Hope you're right.
as what we're going with what we're seeing, we're going to build in that area. We're looking at affordable units, you know, comparable pricing to the places next door. So, you know, we're not looking at coming in there and building something like we're building an Eagle right now. We're going to do that. Okay, we're going to build stuff that people can afford that lives here, and that's our motivation there, is to come in and do that and do it affordable. So We're building energy efficient places, and I know I keep pounding on that, but when people can rent a place where there's next to no power consumption, it helps with the rents, so.
Sure. Is there anybody else that's online that has a question for the applicant? I don't see anybody unmuting. Okay, thank you, Tim. Okay, I would entertain a motion to close public. Okay, we have a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did we get all three of them?
I don't think we got Matt.
Could do
Maybe?
Aye.
Okay.
even a roll call vote.
Yeah.
Because they're remote.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. All right, that has passed. The public hearing is closed. What do you guys want to do on this one?
I'm all for this one. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, and I have to agree. I mean, this is about as close to perfect as we
Yeah.
get. I mean, it's the right kind of a building in the right place. It's zoned perfectly. Everything is just, in my opinion, as good as it gets.
Is that a motion I'm kind of
Oh,
hearing?
I made the last motion, so I'll let somebody else make this one.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that it's a recommendation, correct? Zoning map, that we recommend the city council zoning map amendment from IPRS to RMH at 335 North Gateway Street for 100 unit or less multiple family apartment project for Tim Kristovich of Whispering Pines LLC with all conditions of staff.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve it. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that was all three. Right, that goes to council. All right, Vanna. You get to turn the number, Jeff. Thank you. All right, on to public hearing item number 3. No list.
And we know it's public hearing number 3
Because Vanna said so.
Good job.
Vanna Jr.
I do have to say one thing, though, Ben. I don't like your short hair.
I think it's too long. I need it cut.
Do we have an applicant?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Are you the applicant for number 3? Come on up, sir, and give us your name and address for the record and tell us what we're going to do.
My name is Walter Kimbrough. I'm at 4288 Dye Lane in Cuna. I was elected chairman of the cemetery board for the purpose of putting the last half of the cemetery in service.
Okay.
That's what I heard. We've got a plat map file, and that's what we want to get approved.
Okay, and your address, sir? Oh, you told us Dye Street. I've already, my brain is going, it's 8:30. All right, so what are your plans to do at the cemetery? Is it expanding?
The cemetery was established in about 1895. 1/4 of it was put into service then. Another fourth was put into service in 1968. We're completely filled in, so now we want to do the back half of it now. Approximately 3,000 graves will be in there. And that's that's what the plat mat's for, just locating the graves.
Okay. All right, well, we'll hear from city staff, and then if we have any questions, we'll call you back up here.
I have a question,
Oh,
sir.
Okay,
You're saying that you want to do the whole half now, not quarter like you did the, okay, thank you.
I was going to do a quarter because I thought it'd be easier, but the surveyor who was going to do the platting, or did the platting, he recommended, because of, don't want to sound bad, but the way things change in government, he says, I'd be a lot smarter to do the whole thing now.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much, sir.
Matt, did you have a question? You're unmuted.
No.
Okay. All right, who's doing this one, Rodney?
Me.
You, awesome.
Madam Chair and Commission, Rodney Ashby, Principal Planner for the record. I think this one's a pretty straightforward one. It's pretty clear that what's happening here. So just expanding the cemetery and putting in a columbarium as well. So I'll highlight a few things on the screen here. Let me see if I can minimize this. There we go. Okay, so comprehensive plan designates this area as public. The existing zoning is RS 22. Let's see if I can get that on there. There we go. RS 22, which is 22,000 square foot minimum residential. The land use north is single-family homes on enclaved rural residential properties. To the south is large lot residential, RP and RA zoning districts. To the east are single-family homes on enclaved rural residential properties, and to the west is single-family homes on enclaved rural residential properties. There is the RS6 designation in the general area. As you can see there, Skyview High School is to the southwest. And the cemetery is labeled there. So just to the east of where the existing cemetery is where they're proposing to expand. So on the screen is also the plat, the proposed plat. They are not proposing any new accesses to the site. They'll still be accessing the property off of Power Line Road. There's utilities to the property and pressurized irrigation. Limited need there, but irrigation is definitely needed. Sidewalk landscaping. The frontage along Greenhurst Road has been developed with a landscape berm and trees that match the berm and trees to the west. So back on that view I showed you just a second ago, where it exists, he has basically continued that to the east. Plat indicates a dedication of land 15 feet deep along East Greenhurst Road for right-of-way. The plat does not show sidewalks along East Greenhurst Road, and I'll address that in the engineering comments and in just a second here. Planning and zoning history. I couldn't find any records, but he stated that it was 1895. I completely believe him. That's been there a long time. Okay, continue. So this is the landscape plan. As you can see on the bottom of that plan is a access roadway that will be paved, and on the east side of the plan and on the north side of the plan. And that will just connect to the existing internal roadway in the cemetery. There will be the berm out in front, and the trees as has been designated by the little dots on the, basically right out in front of Greenhurst Road. So, I think I threw this in here if you had any questions about how it looked. It basically would just continue across Greenhurst Road as it shows on this view. Columbarium was in your packet. Nampa Engineering Division had comments and one condition, and I'm not going to go over all those comments, but I will highlight the condition of approval. They have a condition that the applicant or the developer construct a 5-foot wide sidewalk along the Greenhurst Road frontage in accordance with Nampa City Code, or obtain a deferral agreement from Nampa City Council. And I would just highlight there that our bike and pedestrian master plan currently calls for some improvements along Greenhurst Road. There's 3 schools along Greenhurst Road in a relatively short distance. And of course the school right there, Skyview High School, and the park in the immediate area. And so there seems to be a demand for sidewalk, but this cemetery has existed for a really long time without having sidewalk right there. So I guess you need to just take that under consideration. I did get a email from Mr. Russell Owen Knapp, and he lives at 624 East Greenhurst Road. And he states these things, and again, I just ask you to consider these people as if they were standing here. First concern, this may influence our ongoing litigation on the 10 to 12 foot along the east side of their fence line property line. Second concern, they may plant an intrusive row of trees just west of our property, blocking our view of greatly valued sunsets. And third concern, over the years, when they've had problems with their irrigation system, my property has been flooded multiple times, causing damage to the northwest corner of our house at 624 East Greenhurst. So drainage may be a problem. So I'd like to address just a couple of things there. The applicant did inform me that there is litigation regarding encroachment onto the property line on the east side of the property. There is a property owner that it appears has constructed some buildings over that property line, and so that is being conducted right now. It's an old parcel, really old parcel, so that can be challenging sometimes, but it appears that the property line is well established, and I can't speak to what will happen out of litigation, but they will be required from that litigation to address any concerns that are brought up as part of it, including the removal of a fence or a building or whatever is the case. And so I don't see too much of a concern here. There will be a roadway that runs along that border and to the east. And so if there was concerns that are brought out from litigation, that would be a discussion that the cemetery, if they would have to adjust their property line on the east side, they would have to consider how they will adjust that roadway and then maybe minimize the number of lots that are available for sale at the cemetery. But again, a lot has to happen before that occurs. The other concern was the intrusive row of trees. I can't speak too much to that. A lot of people, we don't necessarily regulate where people put their trees for the most part. Yeah. And then the concerns over drainage onto the property, as part of this development, they'd need to show plans that indicate through approval from our engineering division that drainage will stay on site. So hopefully this will address those concerns. If there has been concerns in the past, I'm not completely aware of them. Maybe Daniel has comments on that, but they will be required to retain drainage on site.
So Rodney, to that, I got a question. Would that be just for this part that's being developed now, or would it be for the whole parcel, the part that's developed and what's being proposed now?
Daniel, can you speak to that?
As far as the drainage.
So typically on a facility like this, I would have the question for the applicant whether or not the existing areas are flood irrigation or if they have a sprinkler system that they run for that. Looking at the site, I would think that it was probably a flooded site in the field area, but may have a sprinkler system in the developed cemetery area. If that is correct, and we would need to verify that with the applicant, I would think there would be much less likelihood of any flooding happening once they develop the eastern part, if they are doing that with a sprinkler system rather than a flood irrigation system. But even if it is done with a flood irrigation system, that is correct, they are required to keep their drainage on site unless there is a historical drainage path that crosses off of their property. And at that point, they are just required to have that drainage continue to that existing historical drainage path.
Daniel, I have a question for you, if I could, please.
Yep.
The sidewalk, is that a good trade-off?
Our city code does require any development along a arterial roadway to install sidewalk. If the planning commission does not have the authority to waive that, that would have to be something requested of city council. In my opinion on this facility, I don't see a great need to defer that. I'm sure the only argument I could see for that would be financial costs. And for me, that's just the cost of doing business and developing is to put in those facilities.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. So findings of fact are in your staff report and on the screen here. Recommended conditions, I'll just speak to the specific conditions. The dedication of the right-of-way, the construction of the sidewalk per city code, construction and maintenance of landscape berm that aligns with and is consistent with berm and landscaping along Greenhurst frontage for the existing cemetery to the west. And then I've also posted the potential motion on the screen and would stand for questions, or sit, in this case.
Okay.
A question on the sidewalk. So this is a unique parcel because half of it's already developed. The other half is going to be developed the exact same way that the half that already developed is. So if they're required to put a sidewalk in the half that's going to be developed, is it out of the ordinary to have them extend? Would that extend to the corner?
Daniel?
Yeah. So it would be typical that they install the sidewalk adjacent to the portion that they are developing currently. It would not be typical for us to require them to go back and put sidewalk in an area that has an existing developed parcel where they're doing no work.
Okay.
So basically, it
Half a sidewalk.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And then the city would be responsible, or the property owner in a future date.
Right,
you know, if
extend
they
it to the
had-
corner. It just, okay.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, the sign-up sheet, we have Walter on there, which I'm glad you're for your proposal. There's nobody else listed as wanting to speak, and we have nobody outside that wants to speak. Rodney?
I will check, make sure.
Just, yeah, got to get your steps in. We will in just a minute. We'll call you back up. Let's see if anybody else has anything that they want to know first. Rodney needs to get up and move around. That's. All right, Walter, if you'd like to come on up and clarify those things.
Put that plat map up there again. If you notice, when I first went in and asked preliminary about what we need to do there, there was a talk about having to have a sidewalk and a roadway on that side. But you can see where there's an existing fence there, it's already there. And the city's original plan was to have a 50-foot easement there. Well, the existing cemetery has graves into that easement. There's not any way that they can go. If we were to put a sidewalk there, which we can do, it couldn't go any farther than that end because it would be in the graves going. And there's no sidewalk on either side of that, in other words, where the graves are and then where the residential is. So if you can see the plat map, everything is put back to where it will allow eventually And I don't know when that will be. I don't know if we'll be around when they eventually have to do something with that street as far as making it wider. But it'll be easy to do. The berm, everything from where the row of trees that are going to be in there, they're on our property. Everything from that really would be city, actually, sometime. You know, and like I say, the fence out on the street is already there. It's been there. And as the water runoff, there's a parcel to the north of us that has a water line, an irrigation line goes across our property. There's no easement there, but he uses that to irrigate his property. He would turn that water on full blast, and the pipe wouldn't handle it, and it would overflow. And I've been out there on the property with to talk to him. He didn't realize that you don't have to open up full blast. And more than, I don't know if that actually flooded Russell's property that far over there, but it did flood ours. Since then, I've got him over there. He realizes it doesn't have to be open. It doesn't flood anymore.
Okay.
And as far as the water running off the property, there is a stormwater mitigation letter in there from an engineer, and I don't think that's a problem. All that's been addressed. So, like I say, if you can see the bottom of that property, everything is back far enough that whenever it comes time to develop that for the city's purposes for the street, it can be done without a problem.
But then they'll still have to jog around the older part of the cemetery.
I don't know what they want to do there.
Well, I don't think they're going to be out there moving.
No.
You don't think so?
I don't know.
It's all right with me.
But that does create an interesting
Yeah.
dilemma there.
So the sidewalk wouldn't serve anybody there
Right.
at all. And
But if the sidewalk wasn't there, you still wouldn't be able to put any plats there because, or
right, the sidewalk is.
because it's still that easement that's required.
So that's why the berm was yours. You know, I put it in, and I'm going to plant plants on it. But I mean, it's really yours. Whatever you do with it, excited to do with it. So it's done so that I guess the city wants things to look better. It will look better than it does now. So, yeah, we can do whatever has to be done. We need to get it in service because we're out of graves. People are dying to get in there.
Yeah, right.
I was waiting for that.
I knew somebody would make that comment.
Oh, boy.
I was waiting for that to come.
And the columbarium, not to put anything in here that you're not aware of, that is a Catholic cemetery. A lot of people thought, and Catholics also thought, that it wasn't approved for cremation. But that's never been a problem in the Catholic faith. It's been accepted all along. People haven't done it. Well, because of what's going on today, people are cremating more. We have people want a columbarium to put their cremated remains in. So we've got one in there. And it's there's room to put another one in if that fills up. So, but I'm going to be gone by then. I won't be chairman of the. Somebody else have to deal with that. And as far as the litigation for Mr. Russell, when I took over this and we're going to expand the cemetery, the first thing I did was have the property surveyed. And he's 15 feet onto the property. And I asked him, I showed him, I asked him to move. He said, no. And I said, well, I can't let you take it. I could draw this out and tell you that he wanted to talk to the priest. They took the priest over there. The priest agreed to move. We're going to put a fence on that side. We're not going to put trees there, because trees, are a problem in a cemetery. We're going to
Right.
We're going to put a fence there for privacy, and 6-foot fence. But the priest agreed to move the fence over 3 feet onto our property, not to give him the 3 feet, to move it over, because what he does is he accesses his property on that side, and that's not the access on his deed. The deed has the access on the other side. Mm-hmm. But he uses that. So we said, well, we'll move the fence over 3 feet. That'll give you a 10-foot access there, and you can use it. He refused. He said, no. So I said, well, if that's the case, then we'll have to go to court. We're in court now, and I think it's about ready to be heard with this situation that's developed now. I don't know what the courts are doing with here in Providence, but it's ready to be. All the work has been done.
Okay.
whatever happens, like you said, it's not going to affect, in fact, when you saw the map, there's enough, the way it's laid out, that we could change that site to comply with any rulings from the court. We can either put them in or not.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, thank you. I would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Okay, we got it's been moved, public hearing is closed. So what do you guys want to do on this short plat approval for the cemetery?
Short platter. Madam Chairperson, make a recommendation to the Nampa City Council to approve the subdivision short plat for Mount Calvary Cemetery Number 3 at 2200 South Power Line Road with 2,900 plus graves, sites, and columbarium for the Roman Catholic Diocese of Boise as shown in the site plans and with all conditions of staff. And let,
So Matt seconded that.
I'm trying to say something and things are moving too quick.
There's some discussion then.
There's some discussion. I think that recommend to city council, add this in as a condition to recommend the city council defer the requirement of putting that sidewalk in there. I just don't see the need at this point.
I'll agree to that. I think it's a good, they probably would have done it anyway, but.
I thought Daniel said we couldn't do that.
We can
You don't have authority on that, but you can always
Recommend.
recommend.
So it's just a recommendation, but
right.
I think they would do it anyway, but.
So do you want to modify your
Sure.
motion, Steve?
Bet.
And Matt, do you still second then?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Move this-
that's carried. So we're going to move on to number 4, but I need like a... Thank you. I need a 5-minute break. Please. Oh, my goodness. Do we have the applicant here for number 4? Come on up and give us your name and address and tell us what's going down.
Hopefully locally here. My name's Adam Fleck. My address is 3911 North Patricia Lane in Boise, Idaho 83704. I'm here for a rezone for 22nd Street in Nampa. I believe we have the report from that we got from you guys. I'm here as a representative for Casey Ames. He's the owner of the property. And again, this is number 23 22nd Avenue. And what we're proposing is a rezone from the current light industrial to RML, which is right across 22nd Street from the property. Currently, there is a single-family home on the lot and then a detached garage that's in major disrepair. And our end goal is to actually then split the lot and then tear down the garage and put another single-family home on it. And then parking for both properties. The first step is obviously to rezone it from the light industrial.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for the applicant? Okay, we'll call you back up if we have any questions. Okay, is this you, Rodney?
It is. Madam Chair and Commission, Rodney Ashby, Principal Planner. Again, zoning map amendment from IL to RML at 23 22nd Avenue South for a lot split and then an additional single-family dwelling in the place of that garage that he described for Adam Fleck, representing Casey Ames. We'll go into some of the details here. The comprehensive plan shows this as industrial. It's 0.16 acres or almost 7,000 square feet. It is shown as industrial on the comp plan, but as we've stated before, the comp plan boundaries are stretchable, one parcel deep, so that could cross that road and extend to that property. The existing zoning is IL, so same situation. If you agree that the comp plan can be stretched, then this would be eligible for the expansion of that RML zone over across the street. The surrounding land uses, there's an abandoned single-family home to the northwest. I went by it and looked pretty rough. The single-family to the southwest, there are single-family homes, one of which is on a substandard sized lot, so perhaps maybe similar to this. To the direct west are a whole bunch of fourplexes. I shouldn't say a whole bunch, but there are fourplexes there. And to the northeast, there was industrial, all I could describe it as was pallet storage. There was a lot of pallets stacked, and you'll see some of those pictures in a second here. And then even farther is the Tasman leather production. And then to the southeast is the railroad switching yard, which is also zoned IL. Utilities are available to the site. Public services are all present. Since we're really not, it currently exists as, or it has in the past existed as 2 homes. So this garage back here had a residence in it. And so there were 2 homes on the site, basically. So we're not, with this proposed development, we're not really doing anything different. We're just replacing the garage, developing it as a single-family home, and then they want to split the lot so that it'd be 2 lots. So we're not increasing the demand on police and fire from what they had in the past. Transportation, it's unclear at this point how the required parking will be placed on the property. Each dwelling unit will require 2 parking spots. They are not required to be covered in this zone, but they would need to be off-site or off-street. So required findings are stated in your staff report and on the screen. We believe it's in compliance with the comprehensive plan if you choose to extend or stretch that comprehensive plan designation. And the proposed development is allowed by the proposed zoning. So correspondence, City of Nampa Engineering Division had a couple of comments. They do not oppose the application, but they just stated that any future development of the site will require frontage improvements. This is an old part of town, and I forgot, I can't remember now. I should know this, but I don't think there's, I don't know if there's sidewalks. So, nope, there is not along both sides of that. So frontage improvements would be required. And then Nampa Building Department just stated that all development and construction on this property shall be subject to the requirements of the building code. Staff analysis, the owner claims the garage dwelling in the rear of the property, as shown on the aerial and street views, will be torn down, and that they are proposing to do a corner lot split to construct a 1,100 square foot home in its place. The applicant or the owner will need to show how parking is being provided for both dwellings. And then the existing home that is still there, the one that will remain there, I believe it appears to be under current construction to remodel it and improve the look and the safety of the building. If we need to look at land uses for any questions you have, I'm happy to do that for the RML zone. Recommended conditions, I've kind of already gone over this, but installation of the sidewalk, a site plan will be needed to show how parking will be addressed, and applicant shall provide a legal description for the right-of-way along First Street South along the property to ensure the RML zoning is stretched. Sometimes we get these applicants that come in and they give the legal description for their specific lot, but we need a legal description that stretches across that road to stretch that zoning boundary so we don't do a spot zone where it's in the middle of a different kind of zone. So we need that from them. And then potential motion is on the screen for your consideration.
Rodney,
Yes.
do we want to lose any IL property?
That is a discussion.
There's a lot of it right around there now.
There is. You are absolutely right, and that is a valid consideration that you need to weigh. The City of Nampa has considered that a concern. The City Council has considered that a concern. I would say, though, that in this situation, it is a very small lot. So what could be done there? Maybe expansion of the existing industrial in the area. But I just don't see this as developing as
Separate.
Significant, light industrial development, especially since right across the street is our old part of downtown residential.
Anybody have any other questions for staff? Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Have Adam on here for, but you're good. And there's nobody else signed up for or against the proposal. Was there anybody lurking outside, Rodney?
I don't think so.
You don't have
It's
to
that
go.
one time you make the assumption that someone's standing out there to come in.
Why don't you ask Christie just to keep up with it?
We just like to get you to walk. You need Christie.
Nope.
Nope, I heard her. Nope.
She made him walk all the way out there.
We could hear right in here.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for the applicant? Do we need to call him back up? Everybody good? You guys at home are fine? I don't. Matt, you're unmuted. Did you have a question?
No, I just didn't want to get caught with my heat on again. But I would make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, public hearing is closed. What do you guys want to do?
Rodney.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
God, you gotta get dock your pay.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we recommend the city council zoning map amendment from IL to RML limited multiple family residential at 22nd Avenue South for a lot split and additional single-family dwelling for Adam Fleck representing Casey Ames with all conditions of staff.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. On to public hearing number 5. Oh, yeah, turn your thing. There we go. Is there anybody lurking out there in the, just applicants are left? That's it. Okay, good to know. Well, poor Rodney, we keep making him run around.
Been good for him.
Aha. All righty, you must be the applicant.
Yeah.
Go ahead, give us your name and address for the record and tell us what you want to do.
My name is Matthew Bates, and the address is 2228 Cortland Place. And I'm looking to get approval for a conditional use permit for BGW LLC at that location. It's currently zoned light industrial.
Okay. And you are just trying to get a conditional use, but what are you going to be doing for with the firearm repairs? What exactly does that entail?
Yeah, mostly it's just think like a mechanic for guns, more or less. It's going to be some milling and lathe work, then mostly hand tools beyond that.
Are you going to have a lot of inventory,
No.
just like one gun at a time, or do you?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to determine the traffic of that.
Okay.
So I don't know how to speak towards that.
And where are you storing the firearms when you're not working on them?
In a safe.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant? Okay, we'll hear from staff, and if we have any questions, we'll call you back up.
Thank you.
All right, this is Norm, right?
I thought this one was.
Well, it says Norm's name on it.
I'm here.
It's me.
You're up.
Much improved the second time. Look at that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I think we're ready now.
Okay.
So, this action again is for a conditional use permit for a firearms repair service in an IL zoning district. And 228 Cortland Place for BGW LLC. And the applicant is again asking for firearm repair, gunsmithing within a 1,140 square foot tenant space. Now I can't control my thing anymore. What's going on? There, I'll do it there. Okay, so the zoning in the area you see highlighted there, the little square with the red arrow. Light industrial zoning in that area. North, you have heavy industrial across Karcher Road, and of course, industrial all the way south to the interstate. Whoops. And the light industrial zoning is intended to create, preserve, and enhance areas for a wide range of manufacturing and related establishments and appropriate to the area providing a wide variety of sites with good rail or highway access. So this qualifies there. Again, the future land use map that we have shows that again in an industrial setting, both across Karcher Road and south on the south side of Karcher Road over to the interstate. This is a portion of Lot 2, Block 1 Cortland Business Park. And that shows the lot within the industrial park. Parcel size, again, approximately 1,400 square feet of lease space within this building. It has shared parking. You see the building location right there on the overhead. No sewer available in the area. There is water line and irrigation main lines in the area. The access would be from Karcher Road down Portland Place. Description of the use that's been given is basically firearm repair, gunsmithing. You shows the close-up of the building here with kind of this location here, portion of the fourth portion of that area going towards the firearms repair. Shared parking area to the south. Applicable regulations, again, the same that apply for all of these type of actions. The CUP criteria needs to be compatible with and not adversely affect the livability of or appropriate development of the surrounding neighborhood. And it is an eligible use as a conditional use in this zoning district. Recommended findings, again, I won't go through these. These are the standard findings in order to approve this CUP. Recommended conditions, again, these are all requirements of the NAPA building, planning, engineering, fire department, as well as state and federal agencies regarding the firearms repair would be satisfied prior to occupancy. And again, the building department requires a certificate of occupancy to be filled out and an inspection of the property before they could move in. And the owner maintains all regulatory permitting, licensures, and operational procedures as required by law. The use permit would be granted only to the property for the duration of the use and would not be transferable to any other location. And any other conditions the commission may feel necessary in this instance. You can see here it is, this whole area is industrial type uses. Seems to be a reasonable location for this repair shop. And the action is approval or denial of this CUP.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions for Norm? All right, we'll proceed to public hearing. For the proposal, we have on here that does not want to speak, looks like Nathan Guy. And then we had the applicant, Matthew Bates, on here. There's nobody else signed up against or undecided.
And there's nobody here.
Nobody else is here. Okay, does anybody else have any questions for the applicant to get him up here again? Those at home? No?
Make a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? All right, public hearing is closed. What do you guys want to do with this conditional use permit?
Well, it's a good use for an IL zone, and I think we should just go ahead and approve this, and I'll make the motion if you guys want.
Go for it.
Madam Chair, I make the motion we approve the conditional use permit for the firearms repair service in an IL zoning district at 2228 Cortland Place for BGW LLC, care of Matthew Bates for DBA BGW firearm repair, with all the conditions set by staff.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the conditional use permit. Is all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, conditional permit, use permit is approved. On to number 6.
Go.
Yep. All right, Vanna, turn the number.
I know we can't move forward until it's.
Till the number is on there. Okay, and we don't have an applicant in person on this one?
He's on the.
He's zooming in. Oh,
on Zoom.
He's gonna zoom.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, Madam Chair and Commissioners, Doug Critchfield, Senior Planner. And we have an applicant who is on Zoom.
Where?
And if you're there, you can go ahead and come on.
Oh, can't hear.
You're gonna have to speak up a little. Can we do that again?
Evan Amadon, 1728 Chicago Street, Napa.
Perfect.
Okay, tell us what you want to do.
Basically trying to get my FFL license so I can run a small gun shop for myself, basically. For me and my father, I have to sell one gun a year under ATF regulations to somebody that is not myself. So it would be my father, maybe my friends buying it, but it's really small scale, just planning on basically ordering guns for myself. ATF regulation says I have to sell to other people.
Okay. Well, we'll have staff do their report and ask you if we have any questions when we get done hearing from staff.
Okay, great. So, Madam Chair, Commissioners, so the requested action item is a conditional use permit for a home occupation for sales for family and friends at 1728 Chicago Street. The general information about this site is in the comprehensive plan, this is a medium density residential. The zoning for the residence is an RS6 zone, and the surrounding land uses are also RS6. The parcel size is about 9,583 square feet. All of the public utilities are available to the property, and all public services are also available to the property. The site characteristics, environmental, the business will be operated indoors in a very limited operation. It's located within 1,000 feet from a school, which places it in a school zone. The closest school is Greenhurst Elementary School, down at the end of Louisiana Place. This is a residence in a residential neighborhood, and because this is a home occupation, no employees are permitted to work on the premises and no additional parking will be required. The property has access from Chicago Street and East Iowa Avenue to the north. There is also a pedestrian bicycle access route from Greenhurst Elementary to Louisiana Place and Chicago Avenue, and that distance is approximately 900 feet from the residence to the entrance to the school, which is through an alleyway between 2420 and 2421 Louisiana Place. These are some photographs of the area. To the left is the residence, 1728 Chicago. This is looking north in the middle slide, a middle picture towards up Chicago Street towards the north. And then this is the entrance pathway to the right to Greenhurst Elementary. The proposed use is a home occupation for firearm sales for purchase to and from family members and friends. It's a small operation with anticipated sales purchases of 2 to 3 per month. Likely the visitors will be one person per week with no more than one per day if the business expands, but that's unlikely given that this is a part-time or spare time occupation. And the applicant has stated that he will follow all the ATF requirements, guidelines for transferring, buying, and selling firearms. The applicable regulations, as have been mentioned in prior reports, Title I, Chapter 1, Section 10 sets forth the criteria indicating a home-based business will expectedly be or compatible with residential neighborhoods which they are located. And also Title 10, Chapter 25, the criteria requires that the use be compatible and not adversely affect the livability or appropriate development of the neighborhood, and that the general criteria for approval issuance upon a conditional use permit. To date, the correspondence from agencies, we've either had no comment, no conditions, or no objections or opposition from any of the agencies. We did receive one letter from a community member. His name is Russell McAnulty, the owner of 1800 and 1812 Chicago Street, indicating opposition. And here is the letter. I have to read it because pictures are on my screen and covering part of it, so let me read it here. It says, I'm not able to attend the public hearing. I strongly want to voice my opposition to the conditional use permit. This is a residential neighborhood with many children living in the area. I certainly feel it is not in the best interest of the Fort Meadows subdivision neighborhood to allow firearm sales from within homes and even next door neighbors. I'm a gun owner and a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, but there is definitely a correct place for gun sales, which should be in a commercial location, not in a residential neighborhood. Please consider this letter to represent my voice in opposition to the conditional use permit for home occupation for firearm sales at 1728 Chicago Street, Nampa, Idaho. Thank you for attention to this extremely important decision. Sincerely, Russell McAnulty. From a staff analysis from a land use standpoint, this is in a residential neighborhood. This requested home occupation for firearm sales to family and friends is an eligible conditional use in the residential zone. And this type of business will be operated on a very limited operation in accordance with the applicant's letter of explanation, which is in your staff report. With regards to the conditional use permit, in staff's opinion, the home occupation for firearm sales to family and friends business would have little impact to the neighborhood, provided that the applicant complies with the stated conditions of approval. In your staff report, we've listed these conditions. I wanted to particularly point out that the conditions 3, 4, 5, and 3, 4, and 5 help the applicant comply with the requirements of the federal government with owning a firearm and operating this type of business in a school zone. And that's Title 18 of the United States Code, subsection 922, which essentially states that the possession of a firearm on private property, not part of school grounds, and the individual possessing the firearm is licensed to do so by the state in which the school zone is located or a political subdivision of the state. And the law of the state or political subdivision requires that before an individual obtains such a license, the law enforcement authorities of the state or political subdivision verify that the individual is qualified under law to receive the license. So in other words, these would, if complied with and conditioned as part of these CUP, would allow the applicant to operate the business as stated. So with that, the motion is to either approve or deny the conditional use permit. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Doug, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Why, who's
My
talking?
question is about, since this is in a neighborhood, I'm assuming that the neighborhood has covenants or CCR. Do we know about that? Do they have that? And if so, are these checked as part of this process of the staff reporting?
So no, we don't regulate the homeowners associations. The applicant would have to clear that with the HOA prior to being able to obtain or operate this business. But that is not something that we typically condition as part of a CUP.
Okay.
Doug?
Yeah.
I'm not understanding why he needs this permit in the first place. He's not planning on selling to anybody. He just wants to buy guns. Does he want to buy something that ordinarily would not be saleable to me or you or somebody else? What's the reason for the CUP if he's not planning on selling guns?
Yeah, it's required in Section 3 of the code that if there's a firearms business, I think this is Commissioner Kehoe, is that
Yes,
right?
yes.
Commissioner Kehoe, yeah, that's just required as part of the code that if there are firearms sales of any kind in a residential area that they require a conditional use permit.
But if I wanted to sell a couple of my guns or buy a couple of my guns, I'm allowed to do that. Why couldn't he?
Well, this has been stated in the application that this is a business. I'd probably defer back to the applicant to indicate what types of sales to friends that indicates to us when we receive the application It had all the appearances of being a business or a small part-time business.
But he clearly stated, stated,
I think, in answer to Commissioner Kehoe, or at least an idea, I think that he wants the federal firearms license because it'll allow him to acquire guns. But in order to have that, I think he said he has to have at least one sale a year. And so I don't think it's just for him to sell it, but it's also for him to be able to acquire other types of firearms, I would believe.
At a discount, that's correct.
Is the applicant here?
Yes,
Matt?
I can answer any questions you need.
Matt, are you, have you seen the staff report and the conditions that are in there of approval?
Yes.
And you're in agreement with them? You're fine?
Yeah, I just have to have a safe and lock everything up. Weapons can't be loaded. It's mainly for me to get guns at a discount. Guns at a discount for my father, for my friends. I'm not looking to sell to Joe Blow. Is the idea.
And what about my question about the covenants? Have you checked your covenants to make sure that everything's okay there? No HOA?
Yeah, I don't have an HOA.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay.
Actually, I do. I was a little bit confused on what Doug was talking about. Local law enforcement needs to verify the license for the firearm. Did I mishear that? Okay.
Yeah, that's part of the licensing procedure that the applicant will need to go through, is that law enforcement will have to verify this.
Because it's within a certain distance from the school?
Yes, because it's in a school zone.
Okay.
Yeah, they get a copy. The chief of police gets a copy when I submit to the ATF as well.
Okay.
Okay.
The ATF is waiting basically on your guys' decision currently. I spoke with them on Monday.
Do we have any other questions for the applicant or staff? Okay, we'll open the public hearing. I have nobody signed up on the public hearing form.
make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Well, and Ron is muted, so I don't know if he said aye or not.
Yeah, he bounced off.
Okay. All right, public hearing is closed. What do you guys want to do?
Madam Chairperson, I am not in favor of this. It just seems like it's not necessary. So why does he have to, I don't know, I'd make the motion that we deny the conditional use permit for the home occupation firearm sale in the single RS6 zoning district at 1728 Chicago Street for Evan Amadin.
Is there a second? Okay, that motion's going nowhere. Does somebody else have one?
No, in fact, I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, that we approve the conditional use permit for home occupation for firearm sales for family and friends in a RS6 zoning district at 728 Chicago Street for Evan Amadin with all conditions of staff.
Second.
I think Tom beat you to it. So it's been moved and seconded to approve the conditional use permit. All those in favor
Aye.
and opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that does carry. That conditional use permit is approved. All right. Vanna White needs to turn the page to number 7.
You guys are jumping the gun.
All right, we're on to, oops.
Just a second, I just want to wipe this down. We've had a few people touching it.
Now, community spread of the virus. The governor's making an announcement tomorrow at 1:30. I bet you we're going to have some changes tomorrow. All righty. You're here to talk about public hearing item number 7.
Yes, my name is Alden Adame, and I am the manager. This is Cleve. He's my assistant manager.
Okay.
And we want to bring the park up to code.
Okay.
So, we've been busy since we got the letter from you guys stating what must be done, and we jumped on it immediately. So the park has got all the rubbish cleaned up. We've got all the trailers cleaned up. And our next phase is to hopefully make the park, finish the park that was started 25 years ago. Just never went forward, it stalled. And we're here to make it happen, so. Sorry, it's my phone.
Okay. I'm like, all right. So what are your plans what do you have left to do?
Okay.
Sure. We're going to,
Hold on just a second. Can you, yeah, that kind of interferes with the mics and whatnot.
Pardon? What is your full name? Cleve Chalcraft, 807 North Franklin Boulevard.
Sorry, Sylvia. I
Sorry.
fell down on my duties. Thank you, Cleve. Okay, go ahead.
We're going to dig down into the existing park, the roads, and engineer the drain all the way through to the new addition that we're applying for. So that will be all engineered properly. And then we're going to go over that with, we're going to asphalt all the roads in the park. Will be gated with 8-foot fence all the way around the park with a gated entrance.
Okay.
Camera pointed right at the entrance. We will control who comes in and out of that park from here on out. We have a camera system that is a 14,000 camera system that's federally funded or registered with federally registered that the police department can log into. Anytime we would like them to, we just have to send them a number and the amount of time that they would like to log in, and they can watch the whole park from there.
Okay.
And we'll have a security in there also, 24-hour security that will be in the park. So whatever reputation that was with Mason Creek will no longer be there. Absolutely. We are going to eliminate that problem forever.
Okay.
And we'd like to work with the city of Nampa to become a respectable business.
Sure.
In Nampa, and to serve the working people here. That all the construction that we have, we know there's need, and we've seen the need for housing.
Okay. All right, well, we'll hear from staff, and then we'll call you guys back up if we have some questions. Or you have a question right now?
Yeah,
Okay.
how long have you been manager and assistant manager of this park?
Well, I've been at the park for 5 years.
Okay.
And I picked up the assistant manager. I was stepped in as manager while it was haywire. And then Alden came along, and I stepped back as assistant manager because that's where I prefer to be right now.
So how
I
long?
get all the books.
I've been there a year, but my qualifications.
Can you talk into the mic, please?
I've been there a year, but my qualifications, I'm a 35-year master plumber. And I am the one who sent the containment cap to Robert Bay, the professor at Berkeley. I designed the BP containment cap for BP's oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. Came right out of Nampa.
Cool.
If you Google my name, you'll see the stories on that. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for getting the acceptance so that we can move forward and we can clean up that park and be a part of the community again. And we have a few things here that we want to make sure that you understand that we want to put new ADA bathrooms, brand showers, toilets, sinks, and a new laundry facility. And we'll have a smaller facility in the new project in the back with 100 sites. That'll be for them. They'll have 4 washers, 4 dryers, 2 toilets, and a sink in each bathroom. So basically, we have a green belt in between the park from the old to the new. So we'll have a green belt with a dog park, and then on the other side, we'll have a park for the people. And we shouldn't have any impact. It should be just a little more traffic, but it shouldn't be too bad. We monitor who comes in and who comes out now, so we can see who's there, basically. So the house cameras go to my house and to his house. So we're constantly 24/7 on the site.
And this is just temporary housing, correct?
Yes, it's for RV.
And so how long do people stay at the facility at a time?
I'm sorry, I am working on a contract. I started this over a month ago, and so it's a little rough, but I have a copy for you here.
Yes.
And it is in,
I'll give it to.
oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. And I also have a copy of the cameras too.
You can just pass, only 4 of us. Well, can they?
Well, they can't see it at home.
We'll hold it up in front of one of the cameras.
I'm probably gonna have to do it if you pass it around and then I'll show it up on the screen.
Okay. So what was the time period that you allow people to be there?
180 days, 6 months, and then they'll have to move to another park.
Regardless.
Wow, okay.
Yes, it is in the contract. We are going to follow this to the T.
Okay.
Per city code.
Absolutely.
City code says 180 days.
That's what they said.
6 months.
for
Yep,
6 months.
180 days.
So,
Rodney, Christie's going to be there.
Did you hear that?
I did, yes.
Okay. She'll address it.
Okay.
so I got kind of a question that addresses the elephant in the room, I guess, is why is it taking so long to get this park cleaned up and into compliance?
Managers. Simply the managers that were there. Exactly.
There was a little turmoil with the family who owned it. That also had a lot to do with
Yes, there was a separation of the property for about 5 years.
So is there new ownership of the park?
Nope, same old owner from the very beginning, but his brother had acquired the park for 5 years, and now it's back in the original owner's hands.
That's why the park was in limbo.
And that's when we came in and managed.
Okay.
And that's why it was so dirty, and it was a mess. It was literally a mess. It's clean.
144,000 pounds I hauled out of there, so.
Okay.
Myself.
All right. Thank you.
All right, well, we'll hear from staff, and we may have some questions for you when they get done presenting, so you can just go ahead and have a seat.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, Christy.
All right.
So, Christy, hold on.
Thank
for
you,
just-
Madam Chair and Commissioners. Christy Watkins, Senior Planner with the City of Nampa.
Christy?
It's been requested from you tonight.
Christy?
Christy?
I think there's a little delay, so
Yeah,
that might be a problem. Christy, I'm just wondering if the other members of the commission would like to see what was passed around before we proceed into the staff report.
Okay.
Or if somebody could kind of summarize what was on it, maybe that would be helpful. Not sure what to do there.
Yeah, it's just a basic.
Rough draft of a
Yeah, rough
contract.
draft. They're asking for.
The last paragraph has been crossed out, and that's one of the most important ones.
Well, that's required by city code anyways.
If they don't tell the people up front, then what good does it do?
I think it said on the.
Ignorance of the law is no excuse.
I don't,
Is this camera on?
not for anybody in Zoom.
On Zoom?
Oh, I thought I did it. Christy, I'm going to take away control for a minute.
Okay.
It's easy to get along.
Let's see.
Here.
I actually kind of like the excerpts in that little something like that document outside of city
Chris, go
code
back to
saying,
your main.
here's how we're gonna do this.
Okay.
I should have,
Yeah, we should just read it, yeah. But then-
There we go. Sorry.
Yep, thank you.
They need to practice, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
We're learning. Good job, Rodney. Oh.
Don't move.
Okay, do you three at home see this and have any questions or?
There's 2 pages as well.
Nod your heads when you're done reading this page, you guys. 2 out of 3 have read it. We're waiting on Matt.
I can't see Matt up there, so.
Well, I'm looking at him. He's still reading. Are you done reading that page, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay, on to page 2.
Yeah, that last section was in.
Yeah, that 180 days at the end needs to
I
definitely be in their contract.
think it's in the first section.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Michaela's good?
Good.
Okay, they're good.
Rodney. Real quick, thanks.
Thank you, Rodney. Okay, Christie.
Yeah, it's in the first section already.
Oh,
It's already there.
Rodney, can you start the slideshow?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have access to it for whatever reason.
My screen pops up, strange.
I think the computer quits working after 9:30.
I quit working after 9.
I know. We didn't have any coffee tonight, Sylvia. We're struggling here. We're gonna have to bring our own if this is gonna continue.
You have it?
It's not cooperating.
It's a learning curve.
Here, let's.
There, I'll try it again. Hold on. Oh, shoot. Okay, just a minute. There we go.
Good.
All right.
Awesome.
All right, so the action requested from you tonight is the approval or denial of the conditional use permit for expansion of the existing RV park at 807 North Franklin Boulevard. The comprehensive plan indicates that this area on the west side of Franklin Boulevard is medium-density residential, surrounded by BC, which is community business, and has some high-density residential off to the west, but not touching this property. The property is located inside the city limits and is zoned RA, which is suburban residential. It's bordered on the north, south, and east sides by city-zoned BC property, and on the west side by city-zoned RS6 property. The area to be improved comprises 10.46 acre portion of the overall site. All utilities are available to the site. The property accesses Franklin Boulevard at one access point. Each RV space is required to provide one parking space in addition to the space. And the site is required to provide additional visitor parking. Should this CUP be approved, the applicant is proposing the following improvements as listed in your staff report. Adding 100 more spaces, adding new asphalt, adding an 8-foot fence around the perimeter, monitored and gated community improvements, additional visitor parking spaces, new storm drain systems throughout the park, remodeling the existing showers to be ADA compliant and adding a shower, updating the restrooms, and open space that will include one dog park and one greenbelt park with a garden. The applicant has an engineer waiting in the wings for this CUP to be approved before they begin the layout for the park, and they will be required to submit for preliminary plan review, which will then come back to you for approval. So the regulations used to evaluate this application are located in sections 10.3, 1025, and 1032 of Nampa City Code. 10.3 indicates that a CUP is required for an RV park in an RA zone. In this case, this expansion requires the CUP as well. 1025 sets the criteria for evaluating the CUP request, and 1032 outlines the requirements for an RV park. So as stated previously, the purpose of this chapter is provide for recreational vehicle parks which are suitably developed for the placement and occupancy of recreational vehicles for temporary living quarters, for recreation or vacation purposes on rented spaces with the necessary amenities. These regulations are intended to enable the development of unique, well-planned projects incorporating a variety of vehicle-based housing for temporary occupancy. It is also the purpose of this chapter to provide adequate regulations to preserve the residential character of the development and to prohibit inappropriate and incompatible land uses. Further on in this is where we get into the 180-day requirement. So this was an early rendition of the park. I don't have an aerial of when it was set up this way. This goes back, and I don't have a dated plan. Unfortunately, this plan didn't have a date on it. However, a 2006 aerial shows what the park looked like then, and you can see I'll toggle back and forth between 2006 and 2015, so you can see that it hasn't really changed much. That's 2006. That's 2015.
More trees.
Area to the north has not changed a lot, has not really been expanded into. It's actually been improved over time. So based on the CUP criteria, I kind of applied the criteria in a question format so that we could look at this and analyze it. Will the expansion of the existing RV park be compatible with and not adversely affect the livability or appropriate development of abutting properties? This has been an RV park since well prior to 2006 and has expanded once in that time that it has been in operation, as shown in that previous concept plan. This request is to expand it further and completely fill in this existing property, which is currently landlocked by the RV park. So B, will the expansion of the existing RV park provide a convenient and functional living, working, shopping, and civic environment? Since RV parks are not really considered to be full-time residential uses, then it should not provide convenient and functional living space. It should provide temporary living space. The other commercial uses in the area do provide for convenient access to work, shopping, and a civic environment. So C, will the expansion of the existing RV park enhance the successful operation of the surrounding area in basic community function or provide an essential service to the community? This is probably the biggest piece of criteria for you to evaluate. It has been an existing RV park for a number of years. The remaining property is remains undeveloped if the RV park remains in operation, as it's to the rear of the property and has no other access through the current park. RV parks are proven to be a draw on emergency services. RV parks are assessed very low impact fees and will not offset the cost to the city over the long term, although this has already been going long term. The length of stay in RV parks is difficult for us to monitor and may require that the city hire more staff to regulate that. So here's the area that will be complete with the rest of the park. Further analysis received from the building department in regards to RV parks states that tenants tend to stay longer than 6 months. Building code regulates structures differently for long-term stays. RVs are not suitable for permanent residences due to the construction type not meeting building code requirements. These vehicles are not designed for continuous use. The building of individual sheds, decks, and patio covers for the individual RV spaces are prohibited since the RVs are not permanent housing units per zoning ordinance and per building code. RV parks are assessed very low impact fees due to the lack of permanent structures. Since the RVs are not considered permanent structures, no impact fees are assessed on the individual RV spaces. The RV park will not offset the residents' use of street, fire, and police services in parks. These services will be subsidized by other commercial and residential developments in the area. A recent fiscal impact analysis for RV parks, which you have heard this data before, indicates that the long-term use of the property for an RV park has a negative benefit to the city, where a short-term use of the property for an RV park has a small benefit to the city. It's estimated that commercial uses are approximately 10 times better than an RV park, and industrial uses are approximately 11 times better than an RV park. Having said that, again, we go back to the fact that this property has been in use this way for quite a long period of time, as you are well aware. So some other correspondence that we received from different departments. Nampa Code Compliance requests that the owner and manager ask the occupants on each of the lots to clean up their areas. The Nampa Building Department wants to make sure that all construction on the property will be subject to Title IV of Nampa City Code and will have building permits as needed. Nampa Highway District has no comment. Idaho Transportation Department sees no significant impact and has no objection. The Nampa Engineering Division made comments in regards to the floodplain, utilities, and traffic impact assessments as is attached in your staff report. Most of the site is located within the 100-year floodplain of Mason Creek. The developer is required to complete or submit a floodplain development application for review and approval prior to any site development and follow all FEMA regulations for floodplain development. Vehicles parked within the floodplain shall be moved every 180 days per code. That matches the FEMA code. Recreational vehicle paths shall be raised above the base flood elevation or provided with anchors to resist flotation, collapse, and lateral movement in accordance with FEMA regulations. Some of the other general engineering comments that have been received in the past and are kind of generic. In regards to utilities, RV parks generally run off of a single connection to both the city water and sewer systems with private plumbing systems for those connections within the park. RV parks pay connection fees to the city at the time of development based on the estimated water usage. Based on historical data, a typical RV uses 72.5 gallons per day. In addition, the park pays their usage fees per the established rates for all water consumed and discharged to the city system. These demands do not represent a burden to the current system. For traffic, the for RV parks, the trip generation manual calls out a range of 0.2 to 0.4 per peak hour vehicle trips per occupied space. The sample size in the manual is small and does not call out if the sites sampled are in an urban or recreational location. Comparing the TGM numbers for RV parks and general light industrial, the RV park generates fewer trips. In regards to impact fees, the city's impact fees are charged based on the square footage of buildings. In the case of RV parks, the typical park has a small office or common area and would pay a smaller impact fee than their traffic generating likely warrants. Because RV parks require conditional use, one condition we could recommend is that RV parks have an individual assessment to more accurately represent those impacts. So should the Planning and Zoning Commission vote to approve the conditional use permit for the expansion of this RV park, staff would suggest the conditions of approval as listed in your staff report, which includes submitting a preliminary plan and RV park application for review and approval, which of course would come back to you for review. The site development plans shall reflect the comments made by the engineering department. They shall obtain building permits and pay all associated fees for work on the site. Current occupants shall clean up trash and debris in their immediate area. Provide a business plan with the RV park application that shows how management will monitor the length of stay and maintenance of the park. If the site is located within the Mason Creek floodplain, the following FEMA regulations shall be adhered to. Vehicles shall be moved every 180 days, and they shall be tied down or elevated out of the floodplain. And any other conditions that you see fit to impose tonight. So again, the action requested from you is approval of the conditional use permit for the RV park expansion of Mason Creek RV Park at 807 North Franklin Boulevard in an RA zone. I also have two pieces of correspondence from neighboring properties. So as Rodney stated before, we'll read these as if we are the people who wrote these. My name is Michael Hensel. I live at 520 9th Street North, which is adjacent to Mason Creek RV. While I'm not opposed to this expansion per se, I am concerned that all the requirements required of RV parks will not be observed. This is based on past history. I moved back into this property about 3 years ago. Previously, I lived here for 2 years after purchasing the property in 2008. During the time I lived here, several of the trailers currently in the park have not moved. It will be difficult, if not impossible, for city staff to manage this requirement. I'm also concerned about the 8-foot fence that has been proposed. While a new fence will be a much appreciated improvement, I ask that the fence be a privacy fence, as I currently have vehicles shining their lights into my bedroom windows, my deck, and my hot tub at all hours of the day and night. I also request that it be built before any other expansion components, as this will shelter the current neighbors during the construction project. Finally, I'm concerned about the dog park and its eventual location within the RV park. As a dog owner, I appreciate the need for this type of benefit for park residents. As a neighbor, I'm concerned about noise and odor should the park get substantial use. I would therefore request that the dog park be placed on the north side of the property away from the existing neighbors. So another one that we received is from Mark Chappell. His address is 412 10th Street North in Nampa. As an adjacent property owner, I'm interested in what might happen next door. Below are my concerns for this project. 1, the developer plans mention an 8-foot fence. What material is proposed for this? Will it encompass the total property of the RV park adjoining other private properties, including replacement of old deterior fencing that's in place now? 2, will requiring the raised concrete pads for RV parking above the floodplain make an 8-foot fence irrelevant? For example, the view of the RVs standing above the fence from adjacent properties. How about a landscaped berm with a fence on top to block the view? Landscaping with trees can considerably make the RV park more enjoyable to the residents there and to the adjacent properties. Number 3, I personally know people that have used the park as a full-time residence. How will compliance with the definition of city code in 1032-1 for temporary occupancy be accomplished, verified, and enforced? 4, is the property owner and developer and the Planning and Zoning Department aware of the proposed plan to close 3rd Street and Industrial Road intersections at Franklin Boulevard with new street development through the park's property connecting from Franklin Boulevard to 5th Avenue North? From P&Z View and other city departments, how would this affect your plans? And number 5, in reading the other city department comments on this project, it looks like the estimated traffic flows are based on other typical RV park developments. But Mason Creek Park, being used more for a full-time residence location, would likely be different. What are your comments? And that's all I've received so far. So I will stand for any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Christy?
Christy, I have a question. My first feeling would be denial, but my second feeling is if we did this, would it be possible to divide it up? The applicant gave a list of 9 improvements that they would like to make. And the last one, or the first one, was adding the 100 spaces. But if we did the other 8 first, put the asphalt down, 8-foot fence down, everything else, and then if all that was done, inspect the park again, and if everything was up to snuff at that point, and people were not there over the length of time, could we, at that point, add the 100 spaces? Does that make any sense?
Yes, Commissioner Kehoe, thank you. I suspect you could put that in as a condition as we move forward with this. Conditional use permits generally are good for 6 months. And then we like to see improvement within that 6 months. They have the opportunity to request an extension for another 6 months. And then at that point, they can't extend it further, as you're aware. So I guess I would wonder a little bit if we waited for them to install the fence and went out and inspected it to see how would that affect the expiration of their conditional use permit.
Okay.
But that would have the same effect if we approve the conditional use permit and putting in the conditions that, sorry, it's getting late, my thoughts aren't running together. If the front part isn't improved per the applicant stating that the first date, then the second part, when they come back for an extension on the 6 months, is going to be denied, or could be denied. Does that make sense? If the first,
state it that way.
yeah, if the first part wasn't improved, because that was the same concern I had with Commissioner Kehoe. Once the first part is improved, the 6 months, then they come back for an extension, and at that time, if it's not,
no extension.
Possibility that that extension would be denied.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Kirkman. So they have an engineer waiting in the wings to design this for the preliminary plan layout. When would you want to see the preliminary plan? Would you want to wait until they get property cleaned up before you see the preliminary plan, or would you allow them to submit the preliminary plan while they're cleaning up and building the fence?
I think seeing the preliminary plan while they're building the front part and cleaning the front part is fine, because it's not going to change anything if that first part doesn't get done first.
Yeah, and to add to that,
So I guess it would be up to the applicant to determine if they're willing to do one or those.
right, and Christy, that's what I was going to say. In conjunction with that, they're spending a lot of money. If they spend that money, they're going to want the second phase or the 100 extra lots. So you've got them kind of over a barrel, where if they want to add on, they've got to do what we asked them to do up front, because the park has been deplorable in the past. All the neighbors are complaining about it. So they have to step up, make the place presentable, make it livable, make it comply with codes, and then we'll give them a reward for doing everything by giving them the extra 100 spaces. What? Oh.
Okay, that would be an acceptable condition to place, I would think. Again, it's up to the applicant to decide how they.
Actually, the applicant said something to the effect that he was agreeable to that. You didn't see or hear him, but he's sitting here shaking his head, yes.
Well, we can ask him and get back.
Yeah, when he comes up, we can. Does anybody have any questions for Christy before?
Is there a limitation to how high a fence can be in the city? Is it 8? What's the limitation on that? Do you know?
Well, so Commissioner Kirkman,
Yeah.
in a residential zone, you're actually limited to a 6-foot fence.
Right.
Because this isn't necessarily residential in use, your typical residential use, and because it borders on a BC zone, the BC zone can actually go up to 10 feet.
Okay.
Okay.
So in this case, you guys have the option of allowing the 8-foot fence, essentially, as a condition. If you wanted to put it up on a berm, it would make it a 6-foot fence taller. So you guys can kind of designate how you want to see that approved. That would be up to you.
Okay. Any other questions for Christy before we call the applicant back up? Okay, why don't you come on up? We'll clarify some things here. And you were nodding and stuff, but nobody can see that on. Okay, so the fence, what's your plan? What were you thinking?
The code says 6-foot fence, but in a commercial a commercial site, it'd be 8 to 10 feet.
Okay.
But that's doable. If they want to not see the roofs, we can go up to.
What material were you thinking of using?
We're going to use the vinyl, the white vinyl.
White vinyl?
White vinyl.
And what about the berm? Putting a berm and then the fence on top of that?
We could do that.
That's doable.
Yes, we can do a nice walk path
Okay.
along and hit the fence line right alongside that.
Quick question, have you priced out what it's going to run for 10-foot vinyl?
Yes, we have. We have all the bids with us here.
Okay.
So you're talking 8-foot fence though?
Yes.
Okay.
We did price it.
8 to 10
foot.
foot, I mean, that's not standard height, so.
It's 8 foot.
Okay.
Okay, and then the dog park is going to be on the north side
That is
already, so that
is
guy's,
correct, yep.
okay. And then how are you guys going to deal with that 180-day compliance? It sounds like that has been an issue for a long time.
Yes, and we will take care of that. One of the problems I see right now is we have a lot of elderly. Would you like us to empty the park now? Because we follow the landlord-tenant laws. We go through an attorney and we evict properly. I'm a little confused how that would work on the 180 days.
When does it start?
From when they,
From when they move in.
yeah, they have 180
Well,
days.
that would empty our park out.
Yeah, so that's the thing, yeah.
We would have a lot of people on the street.
It's not supposed to be
Madam
permanent.
Chair,
No, we understand that.
this might be a question for the city attorney rather than for us.
How they're going to be in compliance?
Yeah, I mean, as they said, so many people have been there so long, but they have an obligation to comply with the law, but
Correct.
we're not the people that make sure they comply with it. The attorney will have to do that, or the code enforcement have to do that.
But if we're going to give them a conditional use permit, we need to make sure they're going to comply.
Yeah.
We need to know what procedures are in place to not have this continue.
Well, the procedure is, it's in the contract, they sign it. As soon as it comes up, we give them a notice, a couple-week notice that their time is coming. When it comes, we can either go through the courts and evict them properly, so we can have the sheriff come out in case they don't want to go, or we can try to remove them if they sit there. This is the problem that I'm looking at. We can have them all go. Will they go?
So what, the people that are in the park now were on a 6-month contract, or what kind of contracts are they?
No, they were just on a
They've been there for,
It fell, when we first talked to our attorney, it fell into the regular landlord-tenant laws residential, which was a 33-day eviction. So you gave them a 3-day to come up with the payment, and then 30 days after that, they could be evicted.
So they're not on any, they weren't on any contracts that said they were limited to this amount of time.
well, here's the way I see that. That's not really our issue here.
Yeah.
What's in front of us is whether or not we'll approve the 180, or whether or not we'll approve this CUP.
Right.
What I would like to ask you is, are you okay with what we kind of discussed up here of if this CUP is approved for 6 months, that would give you 6 months to bring the first part of that RV park up to snuff, up to code, so that it looks great.
Yeah, it will.
You know, that it looks good. How you move the people that are already there and get that accomplished, that's up to you guys. That's not on us. And then that 6-month CUP will expire. You will come back here for an extension and let us, and if that CUP is extended, then you would have the 100, you'd be able to put in that 100. So are you amenable to something like that?
Absolutely.
Because that sounds like a win-win.
Yes,
I agree.
yes.
Because the city's going to get that. We're going to look at something that's a lot more better
It has to have
and
no
cleaned up in that area.
We want everything to be totally 100% right. We don't want failure. Failure's not an option.
We spent the last 6 months working with the Nampa Police Department,
Yes.
and they cleared our park out for us.
They helped us.
They were there almost every day for the last 6 months.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're very serious. They know we're serious, and
Because you do have a lot riding on it. If that first part is not, then the money you spend on the engineer and everything else may just kind of be all for naught if you don't get that second or that extension, that second 6-month extension?
Well, our goal is to comply,
That's it.
100%.
Whatever it is we need
100%.
to do, we'll do it.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for letting us come in here.
I don't have anybody else signed up, speak for, against, or undecided, so. You guys can sit down. Sorry. So,
To close the public hearing.
Matt moved to close public hearing. Any second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, public hearing is closed. What do you guys want to do about this CUP?
I would agree with Commissioner Kirkman and would suggest you make the motion.
There we go.
That's not how this works, Matt.
It is tonight.
I'll throw some conditions in here then. Madam Chair, I will make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit for an RV park at Mason Creek. Let me back up. Because the request is for the expansion of the RV park. So we approve make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for an RV park expansion at Mason Creek RV Park, 807 North Franklin Boulevard.
With the following conditions.
For a Mason Creek RV Park, John Wardhaw, with the following, all conditions of staff and these additional conditions. 1, that the existing RV park is cleaned up, brought up to code.
Fence.
Brought up to code. The asphalt is put in. All the first 8 listed.
Actually, it's the last 8. The first one was about
The last 8.
Yeah.
So the last 8 suggestions or that the applicant had provided, minus the first one, is completed before the 6-month CUP expires. In addition, an 8-foot vinyl fence will be constructed around the whole of the property. What's that?
It's going to be a long, long fence.
Yeah. It's a big piece of property.
Is that on top of the berm?
Yeah, I was thinking of on top of a berm. We didn't discuss how high that berm would be, but at least so it's 10 feet high and covers the roof. So it could be a
Minimum 2 feet.
minimum 2 feet berm with an 8-foot vinyl fence constructed on top around the whole perimeter of the property. You get all those conditions in there? So after 6 months, so they have 6 months period of time to do that. So after 6 months, when they come back, if they were to come back for an extension at that time, if those conditions are met, then we'll entertain that second, that extension for the 100.
Who's going to verify it's done?
Well, they're gonna have to bring back proof.
Okay.
No, code enforcement can do a lot of it.
Yeah, code enforcement, they can bring back pictures, we're gonna drive by and look at it.
Okay. Okay.
They get all those conditions in there? Rodney, you look like you want to say something.
Just quick question. You said entire perimeter, so including Franklin, along Franklin?
Yeah, it's going to be gated, so I would think they'd have to fence the entire perimeter.
But a 2-foot berm and a 8-foot vinyl fence on frontage Franklin?
Right.
If it down to a 4-foot on top of the 3-foot berm or 2-foot berm?
I'm sorry, Matt, we couldn't quite hear you. What was that?
How about just dropping it down to a 4-foot fence on top of the 2-foot berm on the frontage?
In the front.
I still don't know how that would look on Franklin, because that's a lot of frontage on Franklin. How about we change that specific condition?
If it is a 4-foot fence on the top of that berm, anybody could easily climb over it.
Well, it's not really wanting to climb over it. It's
the aesthetics.
You want to hide what's in there. It's not really security. It's meant to be site obstruction. I think that's what you're going for.
Yeah, but I also, aesthetics is important too,
Yeah.
especially along Franklin there. I'm not.
A vinyl fence is gonna look way better than what's out there now, so.
I have something to add to that.
Please do.
So just so you're aware, the process of applying for the preliminary park plan and the final plan would be to provide construction drawings, which include the asphalt and the pavement and the landscaping and the fencing and all of that. So they would essentially be submitting their preliminary plan with the 100 spaces shown in it for you guys to approve before they can make all of these improvements that you're asking for.
So if we approve the CUP, then they're gonna have to come before us with that plan for the plat.
Right, before they can make the improvements to clean it up. Because we have to approve the drainage and all of those things to put in new asphalt. We also have to approve landscaping and fencing plans. And so there's no point in them coming before us with one set of plans for us to approve and then coming back before us with a preliminary plan. They might as well have their engineer do everything at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yes, for the existing park and the expansion. It'd be for everything, right? The whole property.
It would be for the whole property because essentially what they would have to do is hire their engineer to do the existing property and then go back and hire him again to do the expansion, where if they just did the whole thing at one time, it would save time and money.
So we wouldn't need to put all these conditions, just approve the CUP and then they'd come before us with the plat, correct?
Yeah, before they can make the improvements, they have to have our approved plans.
Okay, well, that would have been nice to know before.
Sorry.
No, but we're tracking on the same, we're headed in the right direction though.
Yeah, I think so too.
So not having all those conditions on there, we just wait until they come back with,
Because they're not gonna be able to do anything until.
yeah, okay.
Unless some of those conditions need to be specified ahead of time so that they can put it in the plan.
If you use the conditions that are in place where we're talking about code enforcement wanting them to clean up the area, we can expand on that condition and have them, give a good faith effort to clean up the property.
So basically not putting in their conditions about the fence, because we can address that when they come back with the plans.
Engineered plans, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the asphalt.
They've got the idea of what we want anyway.
Yeah, so the motion stands with the conditions of staff, and I'm going to change those other conditions to just this. See if I get this right.
Okay.
With an additional condition that the existing property is cleaned up, and however you do that is however you do that. You'll get your engineer. The engineer will be able to develop plans and asphalt and runoff and all that stuff that will come back to us when that's ready. So any other outside of cleaning up the property as a condition to moving on to the 100 extra spaces, is there anything else that needs to?
I think that cleaning up is too broad an expression. I mean, they could take a broom out there and
Yeah, I know, but I don't know to what extent they're going to have to. We don't know that extent.
Bring it to current code, I think, is important.
What, Christie, what do you think about that? Just saying, bring the park to existing code. Would that cover the things that you mentioned? Would that cover the things that you mentioned?
Yeah, I think that it would. I mean, current code talks about paved access ways, and this park has never had paved access ways. It's always been dirt. So again, it goes back to having to approve the construction drawings and all of that kind of thing. However, you could, make sure that we've got the contract in place for the 180-day stay. You could make sure that the long-term properties have been dealt with and that the area has been cleaned according to or acceptable by code compliance. And we can get them to issue another report with the preliminary plan.
Did you get all that?
Christie, that document that they showed us at the beginning, was that his business plan, or what was that document intended to be?
I believe that that was a rough draft of the lease.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because I think that addressed some of the stuff about the cleanliness of the site, right?
Yes.
And so it could be that, that the condition says that they have to comply with their own and present their business plan.
Yeah, that could be. Yes. Also have to put in there something about, sites that are in the floodplain, but we can talk to them about those details.
So now you got me all confused on where we're at on the motion.
I think you need to start over.
Well, I guess I feel like that the conditions that were listed in the staff report, because code compliance has put conditions on them, engineering has put conditions on them.
Yeah, just
And I feel like maybe some of the things that you're concerned about have already been addressed.
So sufficient, they're sufficient.
Conditions.
I think we were just kind of as a commission here, at least I know Kehoe was kind of tracking on the same wavelength, is that, we want to make sure that the first part is
Sure.
cleaned up and good to go before we extend
exactly.
the next 100, because, history has shown that why would we give them an extra 100 spaces if the first part isn't cleaned up and kept? But if that is addressed with the current conditions of staff in the report, I'm good for that, because I think that's what we were after.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
You could ask them to provide before and after pictures when they come back with the preliminary plan, just to prove what they've done differently.
Okay.
Okay, and the applicant just raised his hand and said, yes, he would. So if you want to make that a motion.
I will. Let me, can I rescind, can I just redo the whole motion? Just
Strike that.
pull that paper out of your notebook, Sylvia. Madam Chair, I will redo my motion that we approve a conditional use permit for an RV park expansion at Mason Creek RV Park, 807 North Franklin Boulevard, for Mason Creek RV Park, John Wardhaw, with all conditions of staff, and adding the condition that the applicant does bring us before and after pictures so we can see the improvements made when he comes back for, if necessary, the 6-month extension on the CUP.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the CUP with the conditions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't,
Ron's asleep.
is everybody, okay, any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. All right, it carries. And that's the last item. And I guess this great experiment of social distancing at the meeting is concluded.
Good night, guys.
Morning.